What's up everybody, Unrested back again, and today covering a topic that has been asked in the past a bit. I've actually never covered really anything on it, and I think the reason for that is it's kind of a touchy subject, something I've kind of avoided, which maybe I shouldn't have to this point, but unfortunately now it finally has to be covered because it's a question that's been asked enough where I feel my viewers deserve an answer, and that is the issue of weight in Japan, and the issue of how Japanese people manage their own weight, what they think of different classes of weight, and what diet revolves around the culture here. And I want to start by saying that if you come to Japan, I think one of the first things you'll be surprised by is the percentage of Japanese people who are slim, trim, and even, I would say, underweight for their size. That was definitely one of the things that surprised me when I first got here. I would say, and this is just a guesstimation, 80% of Japanese people are quite slim and really keep track of their calories and watch their body shape quite closely. And it's not something that they constantly obsess over, but it's something that they easily maintain with a consistent diet and amount of activity. If you've ever taken a look at any sites on Japanese cooking, or you've studied a little bit about Japanese food, or even just taken a look at pictures or been here yourself, you'll notice that number one, Japanese people use a lot of fish and vegetables in their dishes. Number two, the portions and sizes of the dishes that they make are considerably smaller compared to Western sizes, and that the content and nutrition is actually quite high as far as how healthy everything is that they eat. There's not a lot of dishes that rotate around extremely processed food. Even one of their sweet desserts is azuki bean, and it's just an unprocessed bean. Sometimes syrup is added to it, but it's actually considered a dessert in its own natural right as a sweet bean. That is just one of the aspects that keeps Japanese people quite fit. I would say also the fact that this country works non-stop 24/7 and they all live quite active lives. That is from not just the 24/7 working, but the fact that the most popular forms of transportation are being on a bike and walking. That, of course, adds to a daily routine. For example, myself, on average, I'd say, just going to my job, I probably walk anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes a day. So, for example, maybe a 22-minute walk to school, or a 30-minute walk to the train station, depending on which school I'm working at for the day. And I do have the option to take the bus, of course. There is good public transportation, as I've talked about before. But as a father, I don't really get as much time as I used to for working out and cardio and stuff like that. I used to run every day. So I've made walking my workout. And I feel like I'm not the first one to invent that. That's something that's been done in Japan for quite some time, and what keeps Japanese people so fit. Here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is a lot of you who are looking to cut a few pounds will find that right away when you come to Japan, a lot of people talk about in the first week they lose anywhere from 8 to 10 pounds sometimes, just from the fact that their diet suddenly changes and the amount of walking they do suddenly changes. You will find yourself walking a lot more, not just due to the fact that you're going to get lost, but also due to the fact that you're so excited to explore the areas that you might live in. On top of that, you're going to start to want to try new diets with Japanese food, and start to go to Japanese restaurants, as Western restaurants are obviously more rare, and you'll find quite quickly you'll start to lose weight on those diets. Some of the other mindset that you'll find when you hang out with groups of Japanese is that you'll find there's not a lot of indulgence in eating. For example, eating past the point of being full. That's not typical here in Japan. Also, just eating for fun or eating if you're bored. That's not really something that goes on here much in Japan. Now, don't get me wrong, there is foods that they indulge in, but they still only eat those foods most times just to get the satisfaction of feeling full, not to push it past that, or to indulge in after eating a full meal. On top of that, sugary drinks such as sodas are more rare and not as common, whereas you'd have an entire aisle devoted to those in America. Probably the same is true for tea here. And tea, of course, has no calories. It's not like the tea you're used to in America, like Arizona tea. That's totally American style tea. Tea in Japan is the leaves mixed with water, that's it. 0 calories. So, if you're able to adapt to those, be ready to actually cut a lot of weight quite quickly. You'll be surprised, you'll feel great, you can move around better, and you'll find that even walking through the day you have more energy. Now, as far as judgment from the Japanese on those who are obese or overweight, well, there's no easy way to say this, other than to say this is probably one of the things Japanese people are the least nice about. And I'm sorry, Japan, you know, I try to be as objective as I can, but I've got to say in my 5 years of living here, if there's anything I've ever seen Japanese people really be kind of blunt or harsh about, it's people's body weight. They will quite honestly tell you if they feel you are overweight, or if you have gained a lot of weight, or if you've started to become slightly heavier than you were in the past from when they first met you. They do not really pull any punches on this. I'm not really sure why this is. I don't really know if it's something that's always been completely accepted, but it's to a point that even women who have been pregnant are often peer pressured by their friends to quickly lose that weight. Most of my other gaijin friends who have Japanese wives talk about how as soon as that baby was born, their wife was out walking every day to lose that weight. Now, I'm not saying necessarily there's anything wrong with that. I think actually it is good to stay trim, stay fit, and to stay healthy for your kids too, because it allows you to be more active with them. I would say maybe there's times where the Japanese could be a little less harsh on how they judge that, especially when it comes to pregnant women, because, you know, obviously being pregnant kind of is conducive to gaining weight due to the fact that you're eating for 2 people. In Japan, there tends to be a theme of trying not to gain too much weight and trying to keep your weight low even during birth, and that isn't necessarily for vanity reasons. This is actually due to the fact that Japanese women have more trouble delivering a child due to their small stature that has grown larger due to the amount that they have eaten while pregnant. A lot of Japanese women will try to watch their weight even during even during pregnancy, due to the fact that they don't want to have a C-section. I don't really want to pass any judgment on this. I think it's more of a cultural thing, and as long as it's not damaging to the child, you know, you don't restrict your calories enough that it's damaging to you and the child, I can somewhat understand this. Now, I myself implored my wife to eat to her heart's content during her pregnancy, and I will always be ready to run out and get her any type of food she wants at any time. So that's not really my own personal philosophy. I'm not going to go in and try and change an entire country's philosophy on how that should work. I'm just objectively viewing it and letting you know what doctors have actually told me here, why they don't really think it's a good idea to eat quite a lot while you're pregnant. As far as their judgment on gaijin as far as being overweight or heavy, yeah, they're even kind of quite harsh on that too. If you are a person of size or do have a few pounds, that puts you on the heavier side. Japanese people do tend to be quite judgmental towards that. Now, there is kind of more a different type of judgment for different type of body shapes and builds. There is a different type of judgment between people who have a skinnier frame and hold a gut, like a beer gut, such as someone like myself who's skinny. If I had a big beer gut, I would actually be judged harsher than a larger built person who holds the weight quite well. This is due to the fact of sumo wrestling, I would say, has the biggest influence on this. Those guys are usually naturally big guys, and they hold a lot of weight all over the body, not just in the stomach. And of course, they are still viewed as athletes. They are athletes, they should be viewed that way, and they do actually go out of their way to gain that weight to begin with. So those of you who do carry the weight in that way usually are judged in the same way as sumo wrestlers. It actually is sometimes seen as cool, as a big type of macho kai. Whereas a person like me, if I had a gut, I would actually be judged harsher. They think that is more kimoi or kimochi warui, which means like disgusting or gross, or not really something that they find attractive here in Japan. Now, again, please note that I am viewing this in an objective manner. I have no judgment to pass on anybody's weight or anything. I have quite a few friends myself who are of size, and I have nothing against that. So please don't flame the boards with, you know, you're a bigot towards fat people and stuff like that. Okay, I'm not. I have no inclinations or judgments to pass. I know for some people it's much harder to lose weight, and for others it's quite easy. The idea of a thyroid problem is also something that's not really judged well in Japan. It does exist, obviously. It is a condition, but it's rarely seen as an excuse here in Japan because the diet in itself allows even a person with a thyroid problem to keep their weight quite low. So that's pretty much everything I've got for you today on passing judgment on weight in Japan and their own diet and the nature of weight in their culture. If you have any questions about anything you saw today, as always, feel free to write. I'm Unrested. This is JFAQ. I'll see you next time.